Hello there and welcome back to another Sonya Maya psychology video. If you like videos about sex, relationships, and psychology, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and turn on bell notifications. There's a lot more where that came from, pleasure content, if you will, on multiple platforms. Today, I am going to sex therapist react to some responses I asked on my Instagram story yesterday. What are some icks in bed? What are some things that have turned you off? Just because I'm curious, like that's different for everyone. For some people, an ick might be a yum or a fantasy, whereas for other people, it's like, And I hear people say a lot, like, I don't want to yuck your yum or yum your yuck or whatever. But I wanted to react to some anonymous responses on my Instagram and maybe share something that I find as an ick. I will do that at the end if you're curious. Stay tuned and yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so someone said bad breath slash hygiene. This one makes a lot of sense. Okay, this reminds me of my going commando video from a couple weeks ago. Yes, hygiene is very important. And one thing I want to say, little education, if you will, is that when you are really attracted to someone, often you are attracted to their pheromones, meaning like their secretions, for lack of a better term. You're typically going to be attracted to their smell, even if they have a smelly, smelly smell that's smelly. If you know the reference, comment below. But yeah, if someone has bad breath and hygiene and you don't like that smell, it's probably not going to be a good experience in bed. And yeah, get out while you can. You know what I'm saying? Drinking too many every drinks and not being properly hydrated. Drinking too many, I don't know, too many drinks and not being properly hydrated. Okay. And then they said, if you know, you know. I know, I know. Okay. So not being hydrated enough. Okay. So maybe what this person is referring to is the circumstance of not being hydrated enough, and then therefore maybe their mouth is dry when giving blowjobs, or maybe they're referring to not being as wet down there. It does make sense if you think about it. If you are less hydrated, then you're less likely to be naturally lubricated. In that case, grab some lube because you should do it anyway. That's one of the best sexual health tips ever is add some lube. So, okay. And then hydrate. It's important to drink water. You know what I'm saying? So do that as well. But yeah, stay hydrated and add some lube. Lube here and lube there. And one thing I want to say about this too, I haven't actually talked about this on social media, but something that I've noticed from experiences is that it is easier to give head when you are hydrated, which makes sense, right? But people don't talk about it, right? So like have water near you because like if you're giving head, like let's say you're sucking a peen or even eating a vajayjay, you want there to be a lot of liquids there, right? And your mouth might naturally lubricate, but maybe not to maybe not as needed. So there's nothing wrong with sipping some cold water while giving head. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's something to be said about temperature play as well, because when your mouth is cold, that might actually feel good. That might actually feel really good for your partner to feel a cold sensation before it gets warm again. So keep that in mind because I have my fair share of experience with ice play. That can be fun too. Using ice on someone's body, it can heat things up. Ironically. Okay, so someone said, cannot be smelling bad if I'm going down. Okay, I've talked about this before. This kind of goes back to the hygiene thing. There are different smells that happen related to the vulva. A lot of the time, those smells are very healthy. I've done some research, and even like the sour beer smell can be healthy sometimes. But if it smells like very yeasty, or if it smells like a very pungent smell, it could be bacterial vaginosis, it could be yeast infection, which are treatable and common, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even though it's uncomfortable to talk about because a lot of people feel insecure about it, similar to like penis size insecurities, it's valid if you don't like someone's smell, even kind of like the first thing, right? Like bad breath and hygiene. If you don't like someone's smell down there, it's going to be harder to be having sex with that person, and incompatibility, if you will. No shame. Don't tell them that. Just like you wouldn't tell somebody wear more deodorant. I mean, you could depending on the relationship, you know what I mean? Don't tell them that. Just, disengage respectfully, you know what I mean? Unless it's like someone that you're very, very close with and you have a close connection with and you're concerned about their health, there may be ways to do it, but that is definitely a touchy subject. You just don't want to make someone feel bad about their smell. So yeah, not the most comfortable one, but it's a valid ick. Nothing as long as it's with the right person. Well, That makes sense. That makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. I think that was a woman who shared that, if I'm not mistaken. Way too much screaming to the point it feels fake. That, my friend, super valid. It reminds me of when you're trying to watch a nice corn video and then you could just tell that it's so fake. And a lot of us know this, that it's mostly acting, But yeah, when someone is like screaming and it's like so obvious, it's just a turn off. So I always talk about this, but don't fake it. Do not fake it in bed. That's a no no. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're moaning, but you are enjoying it, that could actually make it more arousing for yourself and your partner. But don't be doing no fake screaming. That would turn me off as well. It's like you're trying to mimic something you saw in porn. It's not genuine. It's not hot. Someone else said bad hygiene or lack of self care or cleaning. Again, same thing we already talked about. Make sure you're wiping from front to back, basic hygiene things. On the phone. Ooh. I haven't talked about this for a while, but yeah, on your phone during smegs, that's a no-no. You want to be fully present. Esther Perel talks about how there's one of the big issues in dating and relationships these days is something she calls artificial intimacy, whereas you're with somebody, but then they're on their phone. It's like, are you here? Are you not? So during sex, that could feel very rejecting. That would definitely be an ick for me as well. Unless you're like using the phone to consensually record us or something, like, no. Someone said farting. A short and sweet response. Okay. So I can see how that would be a turnoff, for smell and for whatever. And I've talked about this with friends. A lot of people that I talk to have different perspectives on farting in the bedroom. Some people are comfortable with farting after a certain amount of time. Other people will be engaged and married and never fart in front of their partner, which reminds me of How I Met Your Mother, where Barney would like escape just to like fart when he was dating that woman. But I don't know. I feel like this is definitely a subjective one because I would like to say that it would be best to feel safe where you can like pass gas, especially because like if you're going to be living with someone and sleeping in the bed every night, but on the other hand, it's totally valid for this to be a turn off. For some people, it's a turn on if someone's like comfortable enough to just like pass gas, maybe like moderate the amount that comes out. I know that's silly to say out loud and people don't talk about this a lot, but like sometimes you can like moderate the fart, Like I feel like you can tell by the sound of a fart if it's like intentionally just like carelessly, but other times you can kind of like moderate it based on how you squeeze your cheeks or something. This is such a ridiculous topic, but it's a valid ick. All of these are valid icks, valid turnoffs because it's all personal preference here. We're not shaming anyone. There's also a fart fetish, so that's like on the other end of it, right? So that would be like, if you said farting is gross and everyone should be grossed out by it, then you'd be yucking someone's yum who has, is it catastropnophilia? Hold on, let me check. The fetish words are very long. So the official term for farting fetish is aproctophilia. I think I was confusing it with coprophilia, which is the fetish for feces, which makes sense because farting and feces in the same ballpark. But yeah, aproctophilia, definitely not something I can relate to, but when I was doing research for the Psychology of Fetishes video, this one right here, I did find that it makes sense in terms of conditioning. Like, let's say you have a crush on somebody, and let's say like this cute girl in your math class from like sixth grade, seventh grade. We're going through changes. I'm going through changes. Big mouth intro, shout out. And then all of a sudden, she's just like farting a lot in math class, but you're like attracted to her and like you're getting like no reason boners. Actually, there are reasons for the boners, but you're like, you're getting some like, you're like, ooh, she cute, but then she like farts a lot. Then all of a sudden, the stimulus of farting it leads to a conditioned response, very psychological speaking here, of arousal. So then your brain automatically associates those together. So then therefore you maybe start exploring kinks, hopefully consensually, if like you want someone, maybe like a smegs worker or a partner to fart on you because that's hot. Not yuck at anyone's yum. That is part of the reason why that happens for those of you who are confused by it. So yeah, if you didn't know that, you learned something new today. You're welcome. Someone said girls who don't use enough tongue while kissing. Okay. So for this person, it's an ick if they don't use enough tongue. That's valid if you like more tongue during kissing. And there are certain ways to communicate that. like maybe not in the moment, but like just when you're having like casual conversations, if this is someone you're like in a relationship with, like, when you're talking about like things that you like, kind of like in a similar way that you talk about erogenous zones. Like, yeah, it like really turns me on when someone uses just like a little bit more tongue during kissing. Like, not that you're doing anything wrong, but that is a turn on for me. It's like a general statement, not like you don't use enough tongue. Like that feels like a criticism and someone's going to feel like I'm not enough but it's something that really turns me on, like when someone uses a little bit more tongue, and then maybe you can like use a little bit more tongue and then see if they reciprocate. You can't make anyone do anything, but there are ways to go about it, that kind of thing. Just like you would say, like kissing my neck really turns me on, a little bit more tongue turns me on as well. So that might be like something that they don't have experience with, because maybe like they'd never kissed with a lot of tongue. But it's okay to express those wants and needs and whatnot in a way that's like collaborative and curious rather than judgmental. Someone said squeamishness is a crazy word. Squeamishness of where I finish, assuming we're meaningful, trusted, protected partners. Squeamishness of where I finish. Oh, okay. A squeamishness of where I finish. Oh, okay. So it's a turnoff for this person, this man. If a person, maybe a woman, if this is a heterosexual dynamic, has a squeamishness of where they finish, where he finishes, I think yeah. So like, oh, don't like come on my tits, or like don't come on my face. Like, okay. So, all right, okay, that's valid. None of these are invalid. So okay, that makes sense. So like maybe I'm wondering if this person, like, it's a turn on to like finish on, kind of like cum shot type thing, maybe from like watching porn or etc., which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's a turn off if they are like, oh, don't do this, and okay, that might be an incompatibility of sexual preferences. So yeah, no one's wrong or right in these scenarios, right? But okay, because maybe it's really hot for you for like someone to like, swallow during a blowjob, or maybe it's really hot for you for someone to be like, oh yeah, come here, definitely, maybe at least let them know when you're about to finish so that you're not like coming in someone's eyes, because like, ouch. But yeah, it can be hot to feel like you can just like, do your thing like all over. And if that person is squeamish about it, then maybe that's a turn off for you. So that might be someone's boundary, but it doesn't, you're just like not sexually compatible, perhaps. So that's my reaction to that, but no judgment. Someone said not getting head. Okay. Not getting head. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I can actually relate to this. And it's okay if somebody in general doesn't want to give head ever. That, but like if it's your favorite thing, maybe I'm speaking for myself, maybe I'm not, then yeah, that for me would probably be a deal breaker, if they are not going to give head. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just like it would be a sexual incompatibility, because if that's your favorite thing and like your partner or sexual play person doesn't want to do that, yeah, that would suck. Someone said being called daddy. Okay, I can see why that would be a turn off, but for some people it's a big turn on, for whatever reason. We don't have to get into the psychology behind that, but okay, a turn off is being called daddy. Okay, yeah, I would be interested in like, if you were my therapy client, I would want to hear more about why it's a turn off. But I've heard people say that before, because like, oh, do you have daddy issues? Maybe you're like you value being with somebody that has like a good relationship with their parents, even though people don't have control over that. But I don't know, I'm making assumptions here, but I could see why it could feel like a turnoff. But like a lot of people do. Like a lot of people are like, oh, daddy, poppy, whatever. Which they may have also like learned from porn, or there's just something about it that feels hot, or maybe it is daddy issues. Who knows? But different strokes for different folks, and there's nothing wrong with that being a turnoff for you. And that is a boundary that you can express in a nice way. And I don't know if it would be a deal breaker for you, but if it would, then that's totally your choice. But if it's not a deal breaker, just having like a respectful conversation about like, oh yeah, I noticed like when we're having fun together, you use daddy. I prefer to be called like, sexy, or like, I don't know, maybe a replacement. Like, that's what I prefer. But coming at it with openness of like, this is what I like to be called, right? Without criticism would be my way to go about it. If you're curious about how I would go about it, because if someone called me mommy, I don't know how I'd feel about that. I don't think I would like it either. So like, yeah, I noticed that you call me mommy. Yeah. Is that like a turn on for you? Because, I really like to be called like gorgeous and beautiful. So that's how I would go about it. But yeah, so now that you've watched pretty much close to the end here, thank you very much. You didn't have to do that. Appreciate you. I would say for me, the biggest ick is spitting. So I know that some people are into this like spitting in each other's mouths thing, or like, I mean, it's okay. Don't get me wrong. Spitting when it comes to like giving head, like if you're spitting on a vulva or clit or like a penis, that's hot. I don't like how it looks or feels for someone to spit in each other's mouths. For me, it's absolutely an ick. No, 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 no. And I think a lot of people can relate to this. So, like, if you're into that, then definitely ask for consent because, yeah, that would be for me like one of the biggest no nos. Like, don't spit in my mouth. Ugh, ugh. Like, I'll make out, I'll do all that, but like, no spitting. No, no, no. Everyone has, their preferences. And for me, that is just not it. So, yeah, thank you for watching this sex therapist reactions to icks. If you want to share an ick or a turn off below, please do so. I hope you learned something new. This was meant to be like a funny, educational, kind of like let's have a conversation type of vibe. So if you like videos that are very sex positive and about pleasure and about education and psychology and relationships, hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on bell notifications. I'm doing my best to come out with videos every Sunday for Sonya Maya Psychology or Ask the Clitician. And everyone, make pleasurable decisions and decisions because you deserve it. Yes, you. I said it. You deserve it. Yeah.